Hey everybody, it's the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and you are watching the weekly Wringer series here on clanofthegraywolf.com. So, we had a lot to talk about because last week we had carryover from our question about the Nickelodeon shows. Lots of folks kept commenting about that, brought that into this week, so we'll cover a little bit of that about that as well. Seems like that means I asked a good question when we have feedback that kind of keeps coming weeks after the actual topic isn't even part of the weekly Wringer anymore. So that's good stuff. I definitely like that. So yeah, I want to run through a little bit of that. I want to go through the question that I asked you for this week about, and we're going to get through all the great contributions from the community on the piracy conversation and the effects on PC gaming. I'll give you my thoughts about that, and then I want to ask you a question for next week that will really, I think, have you thinking about some of your favorite sci-fi movies of all time. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so a lot of the conversation that came up last week about the Nick shows, people really kept talking about it. I love when that happens. I think that's a great thing. It means a good question came up that interested all of you. And quite frankly, I'm glad that happened. Mark my words, I know some of you are a little bit irked about this. The next time I ask you a weekly Wringer about shows from your childhood, it's going to be a Cartoon Network question and not a Nickelodeon question. Nickelodeon meant a little more to me, but Cartoon Network stuff is coming. I definitely haven't forgot about that. I've got plenty of thoughts, and I actually have some questions already made up for some of those Cartoon Network shows as well. So don't think that you're going to get left out if you thought Cartoon Network was clearly the better, or if it was a bigger part of your childhood. I also wanted to say that I appreciate all of your comments from last week, absolutely, but I wanted to say in particular, Brooklyn Surf, who is a new member to the community who I was going to welcome as a part of our new members, commented right after actually, it might have been posted while I was recording the video last week. So I didn't add it in there, but I thought it was a really great summation of a lot of the things we were talking about, and really did a great job bringing up the block of shows that they're currently using, and why maybe a little bit of a defense in that regard. And I thought it was a tremendous job. So definitely wanted to say thanks on that, and the mention of Stick Stickley as the host, which I think we can all agree would be awesome. I'm sure we can still all sing the Address song right now. So anyway, Stick Stickley would definitely be the host, and I just wanted to say thanks to Brooklyn Surf for that. This week we've got two others that are newcomers. We've got JP, welcome. Brooklyn Surf, welcome as well. And also Mag Cynic, interesting. Welcome. Glad to see you guys as a part of the community. Hope to see you making contributions to questions and ringers long after this week's subject matter is long gone. Okay, now as you will all recall, I asked a question last week about piracy, specifically with PC gaming. And the question I asked you was, how does piracy affect PC gaming today? We all live in 2011 now. What are the effects of piracy in specific with PC gaming? Lots of good thoughts. Obviously a very, very deep topic. I don't know if I'll ever get to everything that we want to say about it. But let me just run through a couple quick ideas that came from the community out there. Uwaru had a couple of really good points. Get the obvious out there. Piracy is a crime. Certainly, with all the conversation we're going to have about it today, with all the conversation we've had about it over the past week, I want to make it very clear. The Clan of the Grey Wolf doesn't condone piracy. Piracy is a crime. And we're not going to talk about it in any way other than how we always talk about things in the Weekly Wringer, which means that we want to talk about it objectively. We want to try as objectively as possible. we want to talk about it with some kind of, intellectual rigor. All right, we don't just want to spew stuff about it, and we want to do it in a way that we can really engage in a positive manner, so that we can really make a contribution to the community. And that's what the Ringer's all about, and that's what it should always be about. And that's what we'll do today as well. So I want to say thanks to Uaro for kicking things off by saying piracy is a crime. We don't condone it. No one in the community, and you guys all took the tremendous high road with what you were saying. I want to thank you all for keeping things very professional. And for not, by the way, going off on tangents and talking about how, oh, I love piracy, it's the greatest thing in the world. You didn't do that. I want to say thanks. I think that's a testament to how good our community is. And I imagine a lot of you out there that watch our videos every week probably didn't have anything to say. You saw this and said, I think I'm going to steer clear of this one. I'm not sure I have anything to add. That's fine, too. That happens every week as well. And some of you from the community might have been, I don't want to say anything because I'm afraid that I might say something like that I happen to like piracy, or I happen to, use it a lot, and I don't want to put myself out there at any kind of length. That's fine, too. I understand. But I just want to say I'm really glad that those of you that did post really kept things at a very professional level, and analysis was the order of the day, and that's the way it should be on the Weekly Ringer. So I'm very happy that you guys kept it at that level. Also, I thought there was an interesting point by Uaro to talk about how tech support can be affected by piracy, where, and I imagine it's not localized to any particular company, but if you look at the tech support of all of the largest game developers, I think a significant number of them are now acknowledging piracy to a certain degree. So in other words, they understand that a number of the people that call them on a daily basis are actually using pirated copies of the games. They're not paying members of the, of the public out there. So remember, guys, that one of the reasons that game companies provide tech support is so that they can justify the cost of their games. I think that's exactly what Uaro is talking about. So therefore, in order to provide tech support, they have to have people buying the game, because that's going to be a part of the cost, let's say, of buying the game. There's a certain subset, a certain percentage of the cost of what it costs to produce that game that goes toward providing the service to people that buy the game for technical support. So if you didn't buy the game and you're calling technical support, now you're really hurting them, and they weren't able to tell. And they help you with all the benefits that they would normally give somebody. First of all, that makes somebody that buys the game, I think, pretty pissed. And second of all, because you're getting the same service as them, and they paid a lot of money for it. And secondly, it would be like somebody just sneaking onto a country club and playing through the golf course when you paid $5,000 for a lifetime membership to that golf course, right? If you're a paying member that's using tech support, you're probably pretty pissed that other people that didn't pay for it have it, right? But I thought that was a really good mention, because it shows how piracy can have effects up and beyond just the bottom line of a video game company, which is what I think. I like that conversation, but I think we have the tendency just to start talking about bottom lines, about economics. It's not necessarily about that. Tech support can be one of those great things that can be affected by the fact that people are out there pirating games, and that just isn't just helplines and things like that. That's also web resources, forums, live chat, all that kind of stuff that people use for tech support nowadays. Those systems become encumbered by people that utilize piracy at great rates. Let's see. Let's keep moving down the list. Got Estolia back with a vengeance here. We've got, I wanted to say, fantastic point from Estolia about the fact that we've heard a lot of the claims of piracy before. Now, this deviates from the question. The question is, how does piracy affect PC gaming? Let's take a step back. That's what Estolia begins doing, saying, we've heard these claims of piracy ruining the industry before, right? We've heard them before. VHS, as was stated, is going to ruin the movie industry, and taping radio is going to ruin the music industry, and those things didn't happen. I really liked some of the things that Uaro said, and kind of coming back, and then we had Estolia come back and say the same things. I think we all got to a point of agreement where there's this kind of We've had all these, we've heard the claims before, but we've never had the state of having a perfect copy before. Whereas before, people always bootleg, say, Grateful Dead shows. Those were never professional recordings. If you really wanted a professional recording, you would get what was produced at great expense by the record company to record professionally in all kinds of channels with all its remixed glory into, a produced and professionally recorded version, right? So, but we have that with video games because really without any kind of fail, you could actually have the exact same version that someone paid with before without having to pay for it. That certainly brings up a lot of different implications. But I was very glad that we started there, kind of as a way in to the argument. In other words, piracy has been a part of commodities of artistic production for a long time. Novels, someone could copy novels. Someone could copy poetry. Someone could copy television shows. Someone could copy films by bringing camcorders into movie theaters. The point is, it still hasn't collapsed any of those industries. A lot of those industries are actually doing better than they ever have before economically. And so the argument is that even though piracy has gotten a lot better, it doesn't seem like things have really impacted the business that much. So maybe we should just kind of back off a little bit about the claims. Don't know how I feel about that, but I thought it was a really good way to start the conversation. All right, moving right along, we've got Namekian, or I think that's what I said right, Namekian, talked about DLC limitations. Completely and totally agree. So one of the interesting things that's going on with the implications of piracy is that companies are starting to limit DLC based on whether or not you have a legitimate copy. Now, I started the conversation, the Weekly Ringer, last week by saying, well, this Diablo 3 got me starting to think about it. I am not trying to paint Blizzard or Diablo 3 as bad people or a bad game for doing this. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it started the conversation, and it started me thinking about what the effects were, right? So a lot of you jump to defend Blizzard or talk about their bottom line. This is not about Diablo 3. I'm just interested in why those things happen the way that they do. I know that that's got to be something that was going on in the thought process of Diablo 3. It certainly didn't hurt the conversation that they would be able to use it as a way to limit piracy for their game. That certainly doesn't hurt. But the fact that there are DLC limitations in games already, I think that's a very powerful thing. If you're going to offer things like free DLC, and it's not a part of the game itself, and you still have a very complete game, which is definitely an argument that Rue brought up on the Armchair Thinkers podcast that many of you have probably listened to at this point. If DLC if you without DLC you still have a complete and total thought, artistic movement as a game, and DLC that's free comes later, limiting people that pirate access to that DLC, I think, is a great way to kind of move things forward. People still can pirate that main experience, but they aren't able to get the full experience that people that pay for the game get. I like that. And that really brings up the demo phenomenon, which I'm going to talk about in a little while as well. That certainly brings it back into focus because that's an awfully lot of what it sounds like. But is DLC limitation the be-all and end-all? No. And I wanted to say thanks for those of you that posted a lot of supplementary content this week. A lot of really good articles and a lot of thought-provoking stuff out there. But I want to say I read the article on Cracked, or at least I read most of it, and I thought it was really very good. I read the stuff on piracy as well. But I thought one of the things that they talked about was the new model of infinite payment, right? The idea that that it's no longer about the kind of game purchase in itself. That's kind of the antiquated model. It's the way things used to be. Now it's about making you purchase something at a certain level, and then kind of you purchase more things and stuff as you move on.